Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Table Talks. Welcome to Table Talks. Hope everyone's doing well today. We are on episode 2 of this series here that we're on this month, Race Realities. I'm going to be your host for this particular session. My name is April Starks. I have here with me Bernice Michelle as well as Martina Young. We are joining forces at the table, and there is a seat for you. We want you to know that there is a seat for you at the table. There are times we need to come together at the table. There's a lot of things that happen at the table. We know if we think about our Sunday dinners and different family events, when we come to the table, that's where laughter is at the table. That's where we hit certain topics and situations so that we can hash them out as a family. So we feel like this particular platform that we're utilizing is an opportunity for each and every one of us to come to the table. Your voice is important. You should be heard. We're just 3 women who are facilitating the discussion, but we want you to join in with us. So pull up your seat, go ahead and start typing in some comments and some feedback and some questions for us as you're watching on this particular topic today, which is different realities. We're going to talk about different realities. So our series topic for the month is race realities. We dive right into it, and hopefully you had a chance to go and look at the one from last week, where Bernice really broke down race, recognizing African Americans' cultural experience. We could have went on about that particular discussion because it was very powerful. And hopefully you have gone back and watched that one and joined us in that discussion there. But today we're going to talk about different realities. I want you to see that, different realities. And I'm going to lay the foundation for this, and then you all could chime in as you have certain thoughts. But I'm going to just read something that I looked up before having this discussion, because this is important to me, is the fact that we do have different perspectives. It could be based on our family background, how we were raised, sometimes not even that, maybe exposure that we've had, and then we take on different new realities. It comes even with age. I'm sure that what you thought was important at 16, at 21 was not important, at 30 wasn't important. And so on and so forth, because over time, our realities change. So something may be a strong conviction for me in a certain season, and then later I'm like, you know what, that wasn't really important. So our reality shifts. But I want to read something that I had pulled out from the National Geographic. You can look it up yourself, but that's the site of this information. It says race is usually associated with biology and linked with our physical characteristics, such as skin color, hair texture, all those things that probably put us in what society has labeled as a particular race in society. Ethnicity is a link with cultural expression and identification, and both are social constructs used to categorize and put certain people in distinct groups. So I wanted to point that out because I feel like there's a difference between race, ethnicity. So race is just, hey, you were born tan, brown, light skin, whatever. And what's interesting, I'm gonna throw this in here, I'm sorry. And this is just probably just a little pet peeve, but it is what it is. Okay, so we call black. I'm not black. I'm mocha, let me tell you. But that's how society has structured us and put us in. We're black people. You see so many shades and beautiful colors upon the spectrum of African Americans, but we're labeled black, and then we label Caucasians white. And then you have some people who they're like a peachy color. They like, you know, so we want to be technical about it. It's so many realms of colors, and they each have their distinct beauty. But society has labeled them black and white. So when someone's born, they didn't ask for their color, their skin tone. They were just put into a certain race. And then however they were brought up begins to develop their ethnicity, their cultural experience. Because you may have an African American who at birth, let's just say they get adopted and they're raised in a Caucasian household, or let's just say an Asian household. So is that African American girl or boy now Asian? No, their race is going to fall within African American, but their cultural experience, their ethnicity will begin to evolve from probably that family who was an Asian family raising them. They're probably going to have certain cultural experiences that lend them to that certain race, but they're still African American. So that makes their reality, because we were talking about even the first session, African Americans' cultural experience. That particular person is going to have a different reality than maybe someone else. So I just want to dive into that of whatever comes to you all's mind of different realities that people have just based on how they were raised or what cultural background they have, or even parts of town sometimes that they're raised in that just makes them have a different reality. But should we divide, or should we pity against each other, or should we feel that you're less than, or someone, I want to hit this and I'll let y'all talk, but you're too black or you're not black enough because of your reality, your lens, your perspective, your experience may be different. That put us in different categories among ourselves and even among society. So maybe let's touch base on that, or maybe some experiences you all have had.
Well, for me, I just I love this topic because it does need to be addressed. With the world that we are in, it's ever changing, and we all are going to have experience, just like from moving out of a neighborhood that is predominantly an African American neighborhood, or just having those experiences, marrying someone from a different culture, that right there brings different experiences. But I do think that it is very important for those African Americans that are either adopted into a different ethnic group or marries into a different ethnic group to realize that although your experience in your bubble is different, we do live in a greater society that still sees you as Black or African American, that still recognizes you as what they see with their eyes.
Yeah.
And so it is important for two sides, for us as African Americans to recognize that there are different people who grow up, and have different experiences from us as individuals, but also that individual to also recognize that there is a societal stigma or label just because of the color of skin, that you may have lived in this bubble that has been kind of protected, or, an experience that you never had. I can say in my own family, I have sisters who their children were not raised in the neighborhood that we grew up in, which was predominantly African American. They moved out in the county, moved, and they were exposed to different cultures, and so their friends do not look like them, I should say. But as they have gotten older, they see that their friends may have accepted them, but society has not truly accepted them. And
Yeah.
so it's just having that understanding that although within your bubble, your experience, that things are a melting pot, and that's what America should really truly be, a melting pot. of a different, but we do still have those who want to hold on to the old ways. And so I think it goes twofold that, um, we have to understand that there are people who have different experiences as us. They have different friends, different connections, but also understand that, um, if I am only exposed to a certain culture, that there are other people that don't have that same experience as me, and so just broadening, making the lens broaden, understanding that, what I see is not actually the norm or right or whatever, that other people have different lenses, and understand that. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Hmm. That's really good.
That is good, and it makes me think about how it is two-sided, in that some of it, like, we as a society at times have gotten so tied to categorizing
Hmm.
people and putting things into categories and labeling, that it sort of at times continues this divide. You know what I mean? Like, getting to the point where I can be understanding and embrace you, even though your experience was different.
Yeah.
And I say that because sometimes you have at points, as you mentioned, Bernice, like, the experience of being an African American or Black or whatever is different. And so then at times, even within being within that realm, sometimes you deal with different things. It shouldn't be that we are confined to categories and stereotypes. Because sometimes, even within, you're dealing one with that, as me being an African American, being a Black female, whatever, that at times I have people that are another race that look at me and think certain things about me because of the color of my skin. And then at times I have experienced where people within my own race that, I mean, like, literally, that then you have to deal with categorization of people even in your own race.
Yeah.
What is this that you're not, as you were talking about, you're not Black enough, or you don't act like you live, for me growing up in a predominantly Black area, and then for people to say, well, you don't act like you are from the West End. Well, what does the person from the West End act like? Like, literally, that we would get to the point of not being so driven by what we see as the category that we put people in, and to start treating people as people. You know what I mean? Like, start looking at people as humans, because it is hard to literally, it should not be that you're dealing with it on both sides, that literally you may be going in and working on working in a career, working in a position where you're dealing with, and it still happens, where you're being treated differently because of the color of your skin by another race, but then you're being treated differently because of the color of your skin by your own race. Like, and what is really crazy to me is to see that all of these years, that different things that were done in slavery to keep division and discord going is still working. And a lot of times when people will begin to consider whatever they possess to make them superior to another people. And so that all that segregation, it wasn't just within busing, but even within life, things were segregated. And so within slavery, there was segregation to make people, it developed this superiority complex, and even changed the way that people viewed each other when at the end of the day, I need to be able to embrace you because you are a person. And if I would be willing to embrace you as a person, and if I would be willing to go beyond your skin, I call it inside out living. A lot of times we live from the outside in. We make assessments about people based on their outer appearance, and then we decide whether or not we want to connect with them. What about, like, literally connecting with people based on internally, and then when your culture and your experience is different from mine, instead of me making a judgment about it, what can I learn from you?
What can
How
I
can I grow my experience? How can I grow, in revelation and knowledge by connecting with you? But anyway,
Yeah,
let me.
yeah. No, that's so good. What can I learn? I'm writing that question down, and everybody who is tuning in should consider that. What can I learn from you? I think we also mentioned that in our relationship series. That's how we build healthy relationships. It's because we're looking to see, what can I give to the other person? What can the other person lend to me, so that we're all growing up, together in a better way? Because if we were all the same, it'd be pretty boring.
Right.
I love difference. I love meeting someone from a different culture so that I can gain a little bit. It may peradventure implement some of the things that I've learned from that person. That just makes your life more holistic and more fulfilled. So we should be open to that. And that's why different realities are okay. It's nothing wrong with it. But I think we need to point them out, because sometimes it does cause division. It causes hurt. Something I want to point out to you all, so we can talk about maybe this discussion. Martina hit on it a little bit, just how even different skin tones causes certain issues, not outside of our race and within. So it's a double-edged sword, which is so difficult to hold and handle. But the different shades. I have two teen boys. They're different colors in shade. We had to have the discussion. Okay, Jay, you probably gonna be treated a little bit different because you look first, you a little lighter. You might get away with a little more stuff than the more brown boy. And that was a real conversation. I think Bernice touched on this. Yes, have cultural experiences. My boys have lended themselves to be open to diversity and all of that stuff, but still having that discussion that at the end of the day, there's a system that sees
Yeah.
you a certain way that's different, even though you're looking like, what's the difference? And I think hopefully over time, it'll change for the next generation, because to me, they're more open to, like, why y'all tripping?
Right.
The difference, like they are totally different than a lot of the old structures that have been set up, so hopefully they can help bust those structures up, but at the same time still keep some of your cultural identity. I like what Bernie said about, okay, if you have a child that's raised in a different ethnic family,
Mm-hmm.
different race family. That family, if hopefully their heart is, yes, I may have this little Asian boy. Let's just say I adopted an Asian little girl. Hopefully, my heart should be that I'm gonna teach her something about Asian culture. I
Right.
should not be like, I'm going to make her, look, you black little girl, you black. I know you look Asian, but you've been raised by me. You black. No, I want to teach her something about her culture, her heritage, her background. So hopefully people are watching this. If you adopted or if you're fostering a child of a different race, please expose them to their culture. Yeah, they may, learn some things from your culture and your ethnic background, but give them their roots.
Yeah.
Show them their roots. Make them have some pride in their roots. If they have a mixed culture, share with them both sides.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that really, because even for me, I mean, I had to take my own personal assessment into some of my Indian roots through my great grandmother and my granddad's side. I did it on my own. No one shared that with me, but it would be nice if we start helping even the next generation understand the richness of whatever their backgrounds cover. so they'll have a sense of pride and realize that it's okay. Difference is good. We have different realities, but it's good. And that if you have different, skin tones, like I started out this thought, that shouldn't make you feel less than or people shine away from you. And I want you all to speak on that because I could be looking at you all salty because I'm like, shoot, y'all looking all pretty. Y'all got, y'all caramel. And I'm, mocha. It's a little darker. I could, if I had that mentality, which some people have. That's why Spike Lee did a whole movie on it years ago. I remember School Days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Chickaboos and the other ones, because that was a real issue that he highlighted back then between the shades. Can y'all talk on that? Maybe your experiences that you all had being a lighter shade?
Yes. For me, I have had people literally come up to me in my adulthood. I never really recognized it because God has just been giving me this lens to avoid seeing certain things as a child. But people came to me in my adulthood and said, I always thought that you were stuck up. Why? Because back then I had longer hair, and because of my skin is lighter. Because you one of them light skinned, long haired girls in high school. Like literally said that to me. And it threw me off, but it also made me see that people we do have this colorism within our own culture, within my own family. I'm the lightest one in my family. Everyone in my family is of darker complexion. And I always wanted to be darker so that I could look like my family, like my sister, my siblings. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that they never made me feel that way at all. It was something that I recognized in pictures, that I was the lighter one and all. And so, and then in society, I did recognize it, a little bit. People would say something about my hair or, my skin or whatever growing up, but I just never really took it in. And so we have to stop doing that within ourselves. It is a double-edged sword. We have the system that, of racism that points out differences within us. And then we have this system that has not of our own doing, like Martina said, from back, we go back to the root of it all. That was something that was implemented to cause division within us. And that seed has grown and grown, and over time has continually made its way in our culture to where, because a person is of a different hue on the color spectrum, that they have this characteristic of being better than another person, or having this arrogance about themselves because of the hue of their skin. And so for me, I can say that I have had people come and just like blatantly say that, oh, you're actually cool. Yeah. Get to know me, get to know me as a person, as a human being. And for those people, I just want to I'll get off. There's people who say I don't see skin color. That's a lie. That's something that it doesn't even make sense. And so within our own culture, we have to stop the practice of colorism and get to know a person for their character, for who they are, for what they represent, their morals and values, and not the color of their skin. Because we all have our own differences and our own likenesses based on what's internal, not external.
I was going to say, go ahead, Martin Luther King. But really, I mean, it is the content of the character. But really, I said, oh Lord, Bernice, go ahead and preach. But for real, I could just say ditto also, and I just, as you were mentioning, like it's crazy that in this day and age in 2020 that you're still having to talk to your having to talk to children about differences and variances in their skin tone and what difference it makes. But it really is still a reality. But it would help so much if we, at least within our race, would stop treating each other that way. And for me, because I have a sister who is her complexion is darker than mine, that's what I can remember us as children and people saying things like, well, why is she darker, and just different things like that. And I absolutely hated it. I can remember being in the grocery store and somebody coming up and saying something to my mother about our complexions. And I don't like it. And I don't, it just, ugh, it's disgusting to me because there's no difference. You know what I'm saying? And even, we will still have even children that would say, and our complexions are different and our hair is different. And so that will say things about like, why don't y'all have the same hair? And or do you, ask questions about, well, do y'all have the same father?
Mhm.
And we're like, yes, same mother, same father. I mean, that's just the way DNA rolls. And but it doesn't make sense to me to look at people and pass judgments on them. And it's like you said, Bernice, it's hard when I've had people assume that you think that you're pretty, that you think that you're whatever. And it's like I do think that but not in like that, you know what I mean? Like not in that
No,
haughty
you
prideful.
do. Don't try to be humble. Uh-uh. You
But
you think you think you cute.
but you but like literally, and it just like I really and to myself, I'm like, I really do everything to not carry that air.
Yeah.
But people assume that about you. And I'm like, I'm over here, I got these extra pounds, and I'm like, but people sometimes look at you and they make assumptions
Hmm.
like that. And I'm like, I think I'm beautiful in a healthy way. I don't think it like that just because, and I'm like you, I'll be in the sun trying to get darker. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's just like, I'm like, can we get away from that? And I hate to see, it bothers me to see young black, to again with working with youth, to see them not like themselves because they're darker or because their hair is shorter. That is so disturbing to me that we have little children that don't like themselves because of their appearance, but that comes from the mindset that has been like put that, your hair has to look this way, or your skin complexion has to look this way, like literally building people up to, even at a youth, that you understand that you are not your skin, you are not the length of your hair, and that you are beautiful regardless. I've had to like really encourage and talk to kids that were feeling down because maybe they had braids in and then the braids were taken out and then they don't feel as good about themselves because of that. That should not be, but that is because society has painted a picture of what beautiful is, and that is not the definition that we should be going by. But I'm about to slide into Harriet Tubman here, but literally.
Help free us. Look, help free us. Take us
Yes.
to the promised
Change.
land.
But really, I mean, like we got to get away from that, and it starts within us.
That's
Like,
right.
yes, we have issues externally we need to address, but we also have some internal things, and just like you can be missing out on a great relationship and a powerful connection, all because you made an assumption about somebody. You know, I've had people assume, oh, you had it easy. What? Excuse me? Because at the girl, but anyway, let me draw back. This is really.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like no
like
assumptions.
yes,
Yeah, that's so important. I always share this because it's something simple, but I learned it in, I think Bernice and I were talking about this. Miss Thing was our English teacher at Iroquois. And one time we were in class and she wrote on the board, assume, ASSUM. And for sixth graders, we sitting there like, what's she talking about? She looked at all of us and was like, there are 3 words in this one word. And we were looking like, huh? So of course she underlined the ASS, she underlined the U, and then she underlined the me. And she said, anytime you assume, you make an ASS out of you and me.
yeah,
And I just love that because we cannot assume in no area of our life, we cannot assume stuff about people, about their background. You don't know me, you don't know them. You have to ask questions to know them. You have to engage to know them. I think Bernice, one of her mottos is good. Look into me. That's
Yeah.
intimate. You have to get in. Okay. Don't assume anything. And I think we've built some good layers here through table talks. We want to encourage you to go back because essentially what Martina just said was getting back to that identity piece. If you go back to our series that we had, I believe in July, go look at that so that you can get some fortitude in your identity so that it can make you feel more confident in who you are. Despite your race, despite where you were born, God has a purpose in you and for you. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. So look at that identity series. It's going to help even through some of the things that we're working through in 2020, some things that are being highlighted. And they're being highlighted for a purpose so that we can be stronger and better as a people, as a community, as a world, as a nation, that we can grow. And then moving into our friendship series, that's going to help you be able to interact with different cultures inside your race and outside of your race. Because if you look at our relationship series, you'll begin to gain some strategies on how to develop those healthy relationships that are needed for us to grow. And right now, we're hitting all those topics so that we can then pull back some of those things from our leftover. Look, we always keep a leftover container. So we got to go back and pull those leftovers back from those different conversations and those different talks that we've had at the table. Um, One thing that's good about our leftovers, I'm gonna give you a nugget here. Our leftovers don't expire. They don't go bad. They are timeless. Every leftover we're giving you, you can carry it over to every situation, every circumstance that you're going through. And so even today, because our time always runs short, but we want to leave some leftovers for today. So you put that in your container too, that there are definitely race realities. We're not ignoring that there are some differences in things that we encounter and that each one of us go through. So we're going to start with Varnish. She's going to give us the leftover for today. And then Martina's going to give us the leftover as well. So you can take with you.
My leftover is just recognizing that there are differences. And I just want to simply say there is truly only one race, and that's the human race. We are all created by the Creator. And so just because we're born in one atmosphere and the relationship to the sun does not make you any better or any less than someone that is different from you. And so recognize that we have differences, but we are one human race, period.
Amen. And my leftover is usually it's not good to say I cannot, but in this situation, my leftover is for us to declare that I cannot. And what I mean by that is that Oftentimes, when you go get canned food, you can look at the label and determine what's inside the can. When you're dealing with people, we are not like canned food. You cannot read what's on the outside and make assumptions about what's on the inside. So let us stop canning people and instead lift the lid and look and see what's on the inside and then make a determination about it. So we got to start canning from the inside out. So the label is I can not. Don't can nobody.
Drop the mic. There it is. Yes. Yes. That is so good. If you didn't get that, let me tell you. The first leftover. There's only one race, and that's the human race. You need to make sure you have that really solidified in your heart, your mind, and your spirit. There's one race. If we can pull that together and recognize that a person is a human first, and then we cannot, I cannot. Look, Bernice has a book, No More Labels, but that's one label we're going to put on the can right here. Don't can me.
Don't can.
Don't can anyone else. It's so much more to that person. Look from the inside out. And there is beauty in difference. Thank you so much for joining us on this particular episode. We'll see you next week. Don't miss out. We're going to close out on our Embrace Realities, and it's going to be awesome. See you next week.
At the table.
Table.
Mm-hmm.